Welcome to the Geek 101 podcast, episode 226, Terminator Dark Fate. You may have changed the future, but you didn't change our fate. I'm Ariel Rada.
And I'm Andy Bowman.
And today we're going to review Terminator Dark Fate and take a look at the other Terminator films in the franchise. Andy, you had never seen Terminator 2 before this week, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. We'll talk about that along with this last movie and all the other installments in that franchise. But before that, we do have news, a couple of rumors, and a couple of confirmations. Andy, what are the rumors circling around the geek universe today?
Okay, well, since every week on this podcast we cover the rumors of castings for Matt Reeves' The Batman, we currently have Colin Farrell is being rumored to play the Penguin.
Okay, how do you... It's obviously an entirely different take, and I think he's a good enough actor that this can really work. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, exactly. I love In Bruges. I love Seven Psychopaths. I really love The Lobster. I'm a fan of Colin Farrell. Great. Yes. By all means, play the Penguin.
Yeah, I think he's a good enough actor, and Matt Reeves has a good enough reputation that this could absolutely work out. You don't need to make the
don't
Penguin...
wear a fat suit.
Oh, absolutely not. And you don't need to make him a caricature. Not every Batman character needs to be one. But the next piece of rumored casting news for Matt Reeves, the Batman, is another interesting one. Would you share to the audience what that is, Andy?
Okay. Well, fellow Andy, this time Andy Serkis, is rumored to be playing Alfred.
I'm an Alfred traditionalist, so I'm not really on board with this one.
Okay, now what do you mean by an Alfred traditionalist?
I'm all about prim and proper butler Alfred.
And why can Andy Serkis not play that, Ariel?
Do you really think he's going to play prim and proper butler?
I think he might. He's going to be more appropriate than Jeremy Irons.
Well, yeah, but I didn't like Jeremy Irons. In theory, I like Jeremy Irons, but not in the way they execute it. I don't know. I don't think you cast Andy Serkis to make him play a guy in a suit.
You mean
in a two-piece regular suit, not
okay
mocap suit?
Because I'm pretty certain you cast Andy Serkis to play a character in a mocap.
Yes. You are absolutely right, and that was poor phrasing. But
I do understand he has a kind of a Rowan Atkinson vibe about him, right? Like he might wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the camera. The entire thing about this is I don't know what kind of tone Matt Reeves is going for, but I'm excited to find out.
Yeah, I tend to like a world to me, your Batman world can be crazy, but Batman is a core concept. Batman is an unflappable concept, an unflappable character, and if you're changing too much about who that character is, it's not really Batman. It's very, very specific, and I think you can get really, really kooky around him. And I think if you want to change Alfred, I think that's the one character that's just maybe we shouldn't change it, because it's like changing. It's like when Man of Steel changed Jonathan Kent. You're if you change Jonathan Kent, your Superman is ruined. If you change Alfred in a lot of ways, your Batman might not make sense. Your Batman might not work as who the character is. But also, no, I was gonna say it's been a long enough time that we can get a kooky Batman. But no, Snyder's Batman was so off that I think I prefer, and who cares what I think? I prefer can we just get a normal Batman? Keaton Batman's wasn't normal. Nolan's Batman wasn't our traditional Batman. Can we get a Batman that looks like the Kevin Conroy animated series version? Can we just get one movie with a core concept true to form Batman.
Right. Oh, also, Jeffrey Wright this week was confirmed to be playing Commissioner Gordon.
Yes. So we have Jeffrey Wright confirmed as Gordon. We have Zoe Kravitz confirmed as Catwoman. And then we have Rihanna rumored as Poison Ivy. And depending on the roles and how they use those 3 roles, the optics behind Robert Pattinson being Batman might not be great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It really depends on how this world is.
Yeah. I'm not saying, like, I'm just saying I don't want to get too optimistic because, like, I will not watch the movie if Jeffrey Wright is the struggling mayor of a predominantly black city. Like, Zoe Kravitz is a product of this predominantly black city and, like, a sex worker and all that as Catwoman. Poison Ivy is somebody who wants to, like, change the world as, like, you know, a black woman. And then in comes Robert Pattinson's Batman to save the day. Like, if that's the movie, I'm not watching it.
Okay. Ariel, there's another rumored casting, actually, for Harvey Dent. Have you seen this?
No, who is it?
Matthew McConaughey.
That I like a lot. If he ever wanted to jump in, that's a great role for him specifically.
Right. And we also do have Paul Dano confirmed to be playing the Riddler.
Yes, we did know that. Creepy dude, works perfectly. I think we mentioned last time. But yeah. So those are a couple of rumors. The Andy Serkis one, I'm a little not maybe a little on the fence about. But Colin Farrell, definitely, I'd love to see him as a Batman villain, perhaps as the Penguin. We did get a date tweeted out for the Into the Spider-Verse sequel, and that is April 2022. What are your thoughts? What were your thoughts on the first one, Andy?
Dude, the first movie was great. I loved it so much.
Yeah, I haven't rewatched it because I'm kind of like rooted in the memory of the theater experience, which is so good.
God, I saw it twice in theaters. It is my favorite Spider-Man movie, and as a Spider-Man fan, that says a lot. Yeah,
I haven't seen Spider-Man 2 in such a long time, and I think we should revisit it. But that's, it's not, that's certainly not an unpopular opinion, I think, from beginning to end, because I think Spider-Man 2 will certainly be dated. Spider-Verse is, at the very worst, Into the Spider-Verse is the second best Spider-Man movie, and that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it also, the soundtrack, dude, I listened to that soundtrack so much. It's great.
Yeah, soundtrack is great. We did get a confirmation for a Spider-Man that's going to exist in the next Spider-Man movie. Why don't you tell us what that is?
Okay, we are going to get Takuya Yamashiro. Okay, fans of Spider-Man might know him as the biggest thing that was left out of the Ready Player One movie.
Yeah, he is the Spider-Man that is from Japan that has the mecha, like that
right.
That Power Rangers-esque mecha.
The 1970s Spider-Man. Like that is awesome. I am so down with this. Yes, by all means, please.
Yeah, for sure. All right, that's all we have for news today. But Andy, before we get into our main topic and talking everything about the Terminator universe and Terminator Dark Fate, what is a way that our listeners can help promote and support our show?
Okay, well, you can do what one listener did this week. You can go onto iTunes. You can give us a rating and a review. I'm assuming that this listener gave us 5 stars and wrote a review that is it's long, but I'm going to be honest. This I had an emotional reaction to this review. Ariel, could you read this?
Sure, I'll read it for you.
Okay, it's a little bit long.
This is from Fellatio Sands is the name we have here.
Oh, God damn it.
Best podcast ever, he writes. I quote, I work an isolating job, one where I have week-long rotations of loneliness. Real isolation with no contact with humans and no internet. I say this only to explain and emphasize how many podcasts I listen to. The hosts of this show have a chemistry that I rarely find in casts, and it is a breath of fresh air. Ariel is always on and is definitely the more negative of the two. That's true. Only in a way that emphasizes a desire for things to be better and not a love of being negative. Thank you for pointing that out, because it's really frustrating. That was not part of the... I'm going to continue here. Andy is more optimistic and comes with a sense of love for almost anything and everything that can keep him entertained, while still offering bits of thought that go deeper than one expects from a big dumb guy who likes big dumb movies. Those are his words. In an age with a lot of corporate-driven podcasts, it is nice to have something to listen to where the hosts are clearly friends and not just friendly with one another. Every other week, the go to the top of play next list when I start my rotation, and it is always a joy to listen in on these conversations. These two do not just feel like disconnected voices, they remind me of the human contact I am missing days in, and make my job that much better because it cures a little bit of my loneliness. This is a unique podcast with good takes and genuine hosts. Please keep it up, you two. Don't try to steer away from the tangents either. I learn a little bit, but always walk away with good recommendations for things to read or watch alone.
Wow.
That is one of the most wholehearted and well-written and impactful podcast hosts I've ever seen for anybody's podcasts. I want to thank the listener for sharing that, for writing that review. Specifically, I think he understands where both you and I are coming from and what both you and I want from entertainment. And a lot of people don't want to do that, right? Some people will agree with me that a lot of things are bad and things are bad. Or some people agree with you that people should just have fun and make things fun. But in reality, there's nuance, and you and I have differing opinions, and neither of them are wrong. We just look at things in a different way, and I think it's really great that a listener out there is able to recognize that.
Yeah. Thank you, Fellatio.
My favorite podcast review that we have was from about a year ago by someone named Garland ... The title is Meh, and it's 1 star, and it says, not for me. Hey, if you... Thanks, Garland.
If you know Garland, tell him to correct his review. Okay, that's taking our ratings. All right, you guys. Fellatio, Mr. Sands. This really did affect me emotionally, and it made my week. So, everyone, try to make a review that will make me cry.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. It has to be 5 stars, but try to make me cry. Try to make Ariel cry.
That's probably not going to happen.
And you can be mean. Seriously though, just write a review, please. If you haven't yet, it really helps. And this made my entire week. So thank you, Fellatio.
Yeah, thank you so much for the review. So reviews like that and just sharing with your friends if they like podcasts is the best way for a show that you like to get more attention. And the more attention we get, I promise you, the more effort we will give into this show.
Yes, you guys might have already just seen how little effort Ariel gives when he discusses the movie that we're going to talk about later today.
Oh, I'll give effort in the conversation. Didn't give much effort into something else, and we'll talk about that. But on that note, let us get into a discussion. Before we get into Terminator Dark Fate, Andy, please tell us and the listener, tell me and the listener, what your thoughts are on your first watch of Terminator 2.
Okay, I think Terminator 2, Judgment Day. I think that it is a very good movie. It might even be a great movie. I really enjoyed watching this, and I have to say that it has a respect for the listener that kind of put me off. Like it just kind of surprised me that there are moments of this movie, you know, that I knew happened, and they still managed to kind of surprise me and affect me emotionally. But also, there are moments where a lesser movie would have tried to make things more complicated, and this movie does not make things more complicated. Ariel, I'm just going to go into spoilers here because
it's a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah. Okay.
30-year-old. Oh my God. 30-year-old movie.
No, 26.
91, right? What year?
91 or 92?
My Google autocorrected to Dark Fate. How dare you? 91.
Okay. So when the scientist who creates Skynet, Dyson, finds out about it, there is no argument from him. He knows exactly what he must do.
Yeah. That's a good scene. He's great in it. I forget his name. Hold on.
Right.
Joe Morton, sorry.
And for me, that was great. You know, a lesser movie would have tried to either make him argue or kind of maybe like try to hide the chip, try to get it so the chip wasn't destroyed, or being like, no, I can fix this. No, he just goes, okay, well, my life's work does this. I will destroy my life's work. No question about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, Terminator 2 is great. Do you think it's dated?
I think that some of the special effects, of course, are going to be dated. But I don't think much of it is like too dated. I also think, the beginning, if you've seen Terminator 1 and you don't know that Arnold is the good guy in this, that the first act plays out completely differently.
Yeah, it's so apparently, 1991, I was 6 years old when this movie came out. That was in the trailer.
What, that Arnold was the good guy?
Yeah.
Oh man, but it plays out so differently.
Obviously, yeah. But I'd be frustrated if I was like James Cameron, because we know now, right, that directors are not the ones who historically, they are not the ones who cut the trailers.
Right. But yeah, they go out of their way to show that Robert Patrick is not, they go out of their way to not show that he's a robot.
Yeah.
Even when he gets the picture of John Connor from the parents, he gives it back, or he asks if he can keep it. Something a Terminator really wouldn't do. They go out of their way to hide that fact. So I really appreciate that you do not know that Arnold is on John's side until a little too late, until the actual famous scene where Arnold pulls out the shotgun.
Right, from the box of flowers.
Right, and even then, it's not until you see that he shoots the other guy, and the other guy is a robot.
Yeah, so good. It's incredible. But I think we mentioned this off air, Andy. What makes Terminator 2 so great, it's that they came up with like a logical a logical escalation of both Terminator and Protector.
Yes. The T-1000 is perfect.
Right. Well, that's the thing. The T-1000 is literally perfect, and so it's really frustrating when you get to Terminator 3 and Salvation and Genesis and Dark Fate that they are all like noticeable downgrades to the T-1000. The T-1000 is literally unstoppable unless you melt him in molten lava, which would down any other Terminator.
Yeah, I have to say, this movie is so iconic that I knew every beat. Like, I really did know what was going to happen. I knew, everything from the end, the going into the lava with the thumbs up.
Yeah, that's a meme.
Yeah. I loved it, and it was so fun to watch. I also have to say that Linda Hamilton was fantastic in this. She really kicked a lot of ass.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, I don't have any complaints. I mean, my only complaint is that the movie, after watching Dark Fate, the movie seems kind of pointless.
Well, that's not that movie's fault. That's your fault.
Right.
First.
Right, exactly. Well, no, I mean, I watched it first. It's so iconic. It's so good. And, I really appreciate that the robots acted like robots. Like the T-1000 does not talk unless he absolutely has to.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really smart. I think there are moments of like real horror and gore, and like it's like, oh, like when the T-1000 is just like killing things. There was even a moment towards the end where I was frustrated where the T-1000 is just walking towards Linda Hamilton. And I was like, why doesn't he just kill her? Like, he killed everything else right away. And he's just like, I need you to call out to John. And like, oh, like they even like think of things like that where, you know, it's they need to make sense of everything. It's such a tighter script than every other Terminator movie besides number 1. And when you have a tight script, you can work on the details. And that is part of the problem for most sequels, is that they need to expand without and so a lot of other things kind of lose out in quality.
This was great. I totally understand why it's considered the best sequel of all time by many people,
which is crazy because it's like Empire's on that list, Godfather's on that list, right? But it's just like the movie is so good that you really have to it's like I think we did this, our top 10 sci-fi movies, Mike and I think we could redo it perhaps with you. I think this made the list, Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I will say I'm also one of the people who think that Godfather Part 1 is better than Part 2.
Okay, I haven't seen either of those movies in quite a long time, and so I'm not qualified to answer that at this point.
But, Terminator 1 is a good movie. Terminator 2 is a really, really good, maybe even a great movie.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's talk about Terminator Dark Fate.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on this movie?
Okay. Now, I will not say anything negative about this movie, Ariel. Okay. I've tweeted that I'm going to try to get through this review without saying anything negative. This movie is fine.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Care to elaborate?
Okay. The action is solid. The story is mostly straightforward without trying to make a lot of dumb contrivances. Mostly, Ariel, mostly.
Okay.
The overall feeling is just, this is a popcorn movie. I got my action. I got in. I don't think anything really about this movie was done with incompetence.
Oh, I disagree with you there. I think the script is horrendous. I think everything else is fine to good, but I think the script is downright like garbage. I think the script is garbage. Okay. And there are a couple of key things that make it garbage, which I'll get into later.
Yeah. I really can't say much more without getting into spoiler territory. This movie is an entertaining action movie.
All right. I'll give my thoughts here. I think the first action sequence is actually great. I think the other subsequent sequences that I watched were just fine, and nothing quite lived up to that first scene. I walked out about an hour in, and Andy, I'm going to set the scene for what my theater experience was, which contributed to me walking out of the film. So I come in, right? I sit down for the movie, and I'm at the end. I'm at the end seat because I got my ticket too late or something. And in my theater at Newport Mall in New Jersey, it's like the pair, then the double armrest, and the pair, right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm at the end, and there's a single armrest, and there's some other person next to me. This woman sits down. I don't see how old she is. I'm going to approximate. She's somewhere between the ages of 25 to 35. She is, from her skin tone and facial features, I'm assuming Indian or Pakistani, also because she spoke with a British accent. But here's what bothered me. First of all, she reclines her chair, which is fine, but then when she reclines her chair, you realize she is barefoot. And then, as the movie's starting, when you see, when you when characters show up, she just starts like cheering and whooping, and it's like, it's a Tuesday afternoon, and nobody else in this place is cheering and whooping. And then she pulls out her phone and goes on her phone for a while, and then she like curls up her body so that her feet are right next to me, and so like, and then down in the middle of the aisle, somebody had taken somebody else's seat because it's reserved. And so since I'm at the end, I have to deal with like the usher and an unhappy customer, like debating and arguing next to me for a solid 10 minutes when the movie started. So like just the setup for me sitting down to watch this movie was terrible. And so my patience, I was short on patience. But ultimately, we'll get into spoilers. There is a specific scene where this is now my criteria, Andy. If I were to write this scene and pitch it to somebody, if I were to get laughed at out of that room, I'm not accepting that from the movies I watch, because there's a certain sense of like entitlement and nepotism and favoritism and unqualified people getting jobs in Hollywood that I am no longer going to.
Wait, what? Ariel, whoa. Nepotism? Hollywood? No.
Right. It has been exacerbated by the Benioff and Weiss thing. It pretty much confirmed all of my fears as to what like Hollywood is. I have no aspirations of being a Hollywood screenwriter, but I do have aspirations of being a writer. And if I couldn't get this through to a publisher, right? Like there's a moment in this film that I would not be allowed to write into a script because it makes no damn sense. I'm not accepting it from your movie and I'm walking out, right? So I got really frustrated in that moment, and it was compounded with all of the external issues going on in my showing.
Okay. Well, I mean, it does sound like a similar experience I had to not Terminator, Dark Fate, the other dark movie that didn't do well at the box office.
What movie?
Sorry. Dark Phoenix. There we go. Dark Phoenix.
Ugh. That's not a great movie to have a bad like going in experience either. Ultimately, like at the end of my grade, you'll see this movie's fine. And it's the best. It's the third best Terminator movie. Let's put it that way. I only saw an hour of it, but it's the third best one already.
Yeah. I will agree with you there. And also, you know what? This is a movie you can watch with a child.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Yeah.
And I know that because a 4-year-old was in my theater.
Yeah, there was a 2-year-old in my aisle as well.
But I mean, it's just an action movie. There's really not a lot of blood because the people being beaten are mechanicals. So I was kind of hoping for a rated R hard movie because you have literal killing machines.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of a movie you can go watch with a family member and not feel weird. Terminator 1, you cannot because there are boobs.
Yeah. Terminator 2 is okay. No boobs in that one.
Right. Just a naked Arnold.
Sure, but I'll let my kids see that any day of the week. Spoiler, I don't have kids. Let's get into our spoiler thoughts then. I think both of us think that this movie is not terrible and it's just fine. But let's get into the nitty gritty here, Annie. What spoilerific thoughts do you have that made you come out more positive on this film than me, for example.
Okay, Ariel. Okay. And I wrote this down because here's the thing about this movie. Multiple times during watching it, I leaned into my wife and said, "Oh no. Oh no." And I gave her what I thought was about to happen. The plot detail that I thought was about to be revealed. And I did this to my wife 10 times. None of them came true. So, in my cynicism that they were going to try to have a plot twist, a very contrived plot twist, I tried to predict it. It didn't happen, and because it didn't happen, I was actually happier.
Can you give me, for example?
Oh, no, I wrote down all 10. We're going to go over this list.
Great. Yeah, let's go through them right now.
Okay. Number 1, Sarah Connor is a Terminator.
I did not guess that at all.
Right.
I did not think that was going to happen.
Or that at some point during the movie, she gets replaced with a Terminator.
Okay.
2, Grace is actually sent to kill Danny.
I think that's a more interesting film than what we got.
3, Grace is a clone of Sarah Connor.
Okay. I didn't think that at
4,
all.
Grace is a Terminator. 5, and this is something I really said, Danny is actually a Terminator.
Okay.
6, Arnold is actually the he's the one from Terminator 2. Not the T-800 from the first 2 minutes of this movie.
I thought that was the one possibility I thought could have happened.
Okay. 7, there was another Terminator coming in from the future.
Okay.
8, Sarah Connor, this version of Sarah Connor, where there is no Cyberdyne, she's actually the one who ends up creating the Terminators and sending them back in time. 9, Legion, which is this movie's version of Skynet, was created by an augmented John Connor.
That's interesting.
10, Danny gives birth to Kyle Reese.
Also interesting.
These are all things that I was so confident were about to happen at certain points in this movie that, like Babe Ruth calling his home run, I leaned into my wife and told her that. None of these came true. So, because of that, I feel more positively because I was so cynical about what was about to take place.
Okay, let me give you my version of this. The things that I guessed that were absolutely spot on. The only one I got wrong was I thought that maybe the Terminator we see is the T2 Terminator, the T-800, because I thought the alternative is too stupid, and that's when I walked out when I realized the alternative was true.
Okay, wait. We got to tell the audience because we can't assume they watched it. What this Terminator does.
Oh my god! So Skynet sends an additional T-800 after it sends the T-1000. 3 years in 1998, it sends another T-800 to track down John Connor. He just walks up on the beach and shoots him. To none of Sarah Connor's preparations, none of Sarah Connor's resistance, none of her physicality, none of her whatever. Linda Hamilton came out, and you can look up this quote. She was so frustrated. She wanted to. I think her phrase was she wanted to leave and cry, because that's not what the character would have done.
Now, Ariel, I thought that what happened was not that it sent another T-800 after John Connor. What I thought was when it sent the T-1000, it just took this long for this model to find and identify John Connor. I thought that at the same time it sent multiple Terminators.
See, that doesn't fit to me because they have that benefit of hindsight not just hindsight, but like all the information of the world to know when and where these people are. And so you just send them to a moment in time that you know, right? Okay. And that's the problem with like, I don't like trying to explain Terminator timeline nonsense because that's what it is. It's nonsense. None of it can actually work from a time traveling perspective, and it doesn't. After Terminator 2, it never really tries, and that's kind of fine. Actually.
Okay, and follow-up question: why wouldn't they then just send a T-1000?
That's the thing. This movie is absolute garbage nonsense, and it almost lessens. If you want to include it in the timeline, it lessens the previous two movies. Like just.
Well, because they killed John Connor. This is 2 minutes in, by the way. Like this is the opening sequence.
Okay, but here's the issue. So that T-800 .2, right, kills John Connor and then walks away, and for some reason, latches on to a woman being abused by her husband, becomes that woman's husband, changes diapers, and becomes a stepfather to a kid. Like,
what else is he going to do?
That, what?
What else is he going to do?
What do you mean?
Like, come on, he finished his thing. He can't self-terminate it. What else is he going to do?
Yeah, but then he's
going to find a woman who's being abused. So
you're telling me that an incredible advanced AI develops this technology, sends a robot back, and once it completes its mission, it doesn't assign any parameters. It doesn't say, hey, go bring Skynet. Like, hey, bring us sooner. Right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense as like, hey, either the robot completes its mission and self-terminates because that's what robots do. They don't just wander around aimlessly without purpose. It's not Rick and Morty. Or like your further mission, your extended mission is to bring about the Skynet company as soon as possible.
Okay, Ariel, do you know how much RAM cost back in 1998?
Yeah, but they're sending it back from 2049 or whatever year it is.
That is a fair point. However, that would mean that there are plot holes in this movie, Ariel. And that there are plot holes with time travel in general.
It's not the plot holes with time travel, and you know it's not, right? Because that happens. It's just that like nobody put any critical thinking in any scene in regards to that T-800 that he's in. So that was the moment I had to leave, and so here are my things that I predicted beforehand. The moment you see, gosh, what's this woman's name? Danny.
Danny is the main character.
So they walk into the factory, and I was like, "Oh, their jobs are being replaced by robots." The moment you meet the brother, I was like, "Oh, he's dead. He's gone. He's dying." What else did I figure out? I did like the twist with the double exoskeleton and dark and liquid metal. I don't know what purpose it does, but that was cool. I did predict the whole, like as soon as they were in Mexico, and I was like, oh no, don't tell me they're going to cross the border. Like, so that I predicted the UAV thing as soon as they said, as soon as he like goes into the military base. It's just like, a lot of it was, so you gave too much credit that the writers for this movie were going to be creative. Mm-hmm. Like that was your quote unquote fault in this scenario. The moment I had Andy, like you, where I predicted stuff was going to happen and it just completely went a different way, was Baby Driver, and that was a really great experience because Edgar Wright is way smarter than I am. I have never published anything, and I write as a hobby at this point. I can guarantee you I can write better scripts than David Goyer.
Right. Here's the thing. With Baby Driver, it went in a different direction. With me, it just did the status quo. Like, it didn't surprise me. I just thought it was going to try to surprise me.
Okay. All right.
Right? Baby Driver is great. Everyone should go watch it.
Yeah. On the good things for Dark Fate, like I said, I think Mackenzie Davis, her action scene in the factory is incredible. I think
Dude,
what's his name?
it is so crunchy. Like I can't think of a better way to describe a fight scene with where you grab a hammer and there's that much weight to it, and it's being thrown around that fast, but you can kind of still feel the weight.
The only comparable thing I've seen is the MCU fights post Winter Soldier.
Yeah, yeah.
Other than that, like this has incredible weight and movement and camera work. There's something I'm pretty sure they kind of mess with the frame rate. I don't know how. The end fight scene in Kingsman 2 is also like one of the best fight scenes I've ever seen. It kind of has that frenetic, yet it is filmed with such clarity, right? Like everything's moving fast, everything's really dynamic, and yet you can see every little thing play out through these longer takes. That scene's incredible. I think Mackenzie Davis is great. I think the script doesn't do her favors, doesn't do the character favors, because it's like, oh no, every day I'm gonna break down and die. Except I just take the syringe and I don't die. Like it's just, you know, it's a plot contrivance. It's whatever. But here's, besides that stupid T-800 thing, Andy. Here's something that I think is beyond my scope of being able to critique or comprehend. Mm-hmm. It's the border stuff. I think unless you're going to say something really, really intelligent and empathetic about crossing the border and being detained as a prisoner unlawfully at the border, I don't think you should have this scene in a movie. What are your? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't. It was weird. There's also this weird thing where the white robot lady from the future is the one who's going through and saving them, and then you have the whole like robots are replacing people. It feels nothing negative. I don't have anything really to say. It's off-putting.
It is, and so here's a couple of things I noticed. Mackenzie Davis, tall, white, Aryan-esque, is saving all of these Mexican people from the border, literally unlocking their cages, right? Mm-hmm. You have Daniel Luna's character, the Terminator, just slaughtering.
God, he is so good as Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I didn't watch it, but he's like, you know, he's around just like slaughtering people.
Yeah.
Dressed as a Border Patrol agent, but he is portrayed as Mexican, right? Mm-hmm. So that's there. But I think the most important thing that really made me uncomfortable at this border scene is that, for the exception of the suit, right, that goes to get Sarah Connor,
everyone's minority.
Everyone is a person of color in a uniform that has a speaking role. And it's like, you cannot tell me that was not an intentional way to subvert the optics of this scene. You know, there's an Asian guy, there's a black guy in that room, there was a Hispanic woman who like opens the door that the Terminator is impersonating. There's a black woman unsympathetically getting information from Danny's character, and it's I am not a smart enough or plugged in enough person in the modern day border issues and immigration to really speak on it. I would really love to read stuff from a Mexican American who knows about these things to speak on it. But most of the reviews I found are just like, yeah, this is like, yeah, we got 2 Hispanic leads, but man, this is off-putting. And to me, it was uncomfortable. And Andy, I don't know about you, I can't find any message in what they were trying to do with the border stuff.
Right. Well, that's only good things.
But see, this is not.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it's just pointless.
Anymore. Right, and so it's not, since it is pointless, right? Now it's irresponsible. Don't put this in your movie. Don't talk about this. It's like the Joker thing. Why are we talking about people with mental health being violent today when we know that's a tool used by certain people? And so if you're not going to say something about the border, a subject that is near and dear to my family, right? I have extended family, or I have family who's married to people, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get personal here, but it is such an impactful thing in people's lives. And for you to try and use that in your movie and not say something, and not a single person in your writing room is Mexican, your director's not Mexican, like, why are you doing it?
Yeah. They're...
You've got 4 white guys in the room at the top of this.
Oh,
movie.
well, do you want me to tell you why they're doing it? I think I can tell you why they're doing it. I think that because Terminator 2 is considered one of the movies with one of the strongest female protagonists, and that they have her back, they want to try to make it like that. They want to try to say something, but I think they didn't have the gumption, or maybe James Cameron didn't want them to. I don't know.
That's a possibility.
But because especially the stories coming out that Tim Miller really wanted a different movie. But I think that that's what they wanted. This movie is quote unquote kind of getting reviewed bombs by anti-social justice warrior types who are saying like, oh yeah, look how bad this movie did at the box office. This is what happens when Hollywood tries to force a liberal message to us, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, that's frustrating. There's no reason to say that. This movie was actually fine. It's just so weird, right? Like, I hate being on that side of the fence, being adjacent to a certain side of a fence.
Well, it's also like, these are the same people. I saw a tweet that was just like, if Alien or if Terminator 2 came out today, these people would be screaming the same thing.
I guess. And then Terminator 2 is set at the border. They do go to Mexico in that movie.
Yeah. So sorry to get on that. It's just frustrating because if you're going to say something with your art, say something. Don't dance around with it.
And don't use it. Don't use it as a background.
Yeah.
What's funny is that Edward Furlong is half Mexican at the very least.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Like you would never think. Edward Furlong, of course, plays John Connor in Terminator 2.
And a CGI version of him.
Yeah, that was weird. That was so weird.
He did get credited as John Connor reference.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, but
he needs work.
To me, he does. Sure. Everything kind of went wrong for this showing for me, and I can even excuse the nonsense with the T-800 because none of these movies have made sense since Terminator 2. But like the Joker film, I just can't get over certain things, and if you're going to bring up things that are so that people are dying about, situations where people are still dying and being affected by these things. Hey, let's not just use those as props.
Oh, and Ariel, I do want to tell you that the action scenes, while they never get as good as the factory fight, they are all very, very good. Like there's a fight with Arnold and the Rev 9 later that takes place at the bottom of a dam reservoir, and it's great.
Okay. A couple of things I liked. I really enjoy the thought that that even though that Dyson dies and Skynet gets stopped and all that stuff, like somebody's making this AI, and the AI will always end in the same place. Like it's like Thanos. It is inevitable. You will always end up with the world going to hell because of AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. Anything else about this movie?
No. Well, don't run out to go see it. But if you want a action film and you're near family or something, and you got to do something with them, this isn't a terrible choice. It's a solid action flick.
Yeah. All right. Should we grade it out already?
Yeah. I give it a C+.
Okay. I'm going to give it a C minus. And if you know me, if you're a listener, like Genesis was an F. It was like a hard F. Anything above a D, I think, is watchable. And I think this is watchable. I think we need to take a serious look in the mirror in regards to our choices creatively. America. Capitalism is bad. This is funny because like this film suffers really bad from like capitalism in entertainment, and capitalism is like the reason why Skynet exists. It's just so ironic.
Ariel, did I tell you that we've picked up a few listeners in Scandinavian countries? So, guys, write in and tell us how great socialism is, please. Give us hope.
I just, there's a solution out there. I just know that our America's choice of policy is not working. If everybody was socialist, at least probably the planet would be dying less right now. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, the current system is broken, but I don't really think any country has it perfect yet.
No. Okay. This movie's not bad. I definitely like if this was on TNT or I don't know who watches cable TV anymore. If this was on TV, I probably would have watched it. I probably would have started it and just stuck with it to the end. But since I had to go to a theater and drive home and all that stuff, I decided to dip out a little early. And also, that woman's feet were bothering me so much.
Ariel, she was hitting on you.
She absolutely was not, and that's gross.
Dude, look, you do have a face of someone similar to Quentin Tarantino. You should just...
She thought I was him, so, she wanted an in. It made sense.
All right.
Okay. Andy, what do you have for... actually, what are we doing next week?
Well, we were going to do Dr. Sleep, weren't we?
Oh, okay. Dr. Sleep it is. I'm not going to be able to reread The Shining in that time.
That's okay. We could also do Castle Rock.
It. How far is Castle Rock in?
It started with 3 episodes.
I mean, we could do Dr. Sleep and we could do Should You Watch.
Yeah. Keep everyone in suspense here.
Yeah.
And we may or may not have special guest Sean on next week too.
Yeah. Definitely a Stephen King centric episode next week. Further this year,
Mandalorian.
Should You Watch on the Mandalorian? Maybe we'll do like a Disney Plus. Here's what we can watch on Disney Plus type thing. Jumanji is December 13.
Mm-hmm.
Skywalker is December 20.
Right. And we do have Watchmen, which is fantastic, and his Dark Materials, which is really good too.
Yes, we will do his Dark Materials. I think we definitely should do that. Let me try to read that book, Andy, in the next week or so.
Okay.
All right. Andy, what do you got for homework?
Okay, my homework this week is a video game that's been taking up every minute of my free time called The Outer Worlds. All I can say is if you like Fallout New Vegas, you will like this. It is Fallout New Vegas in space.
I've heard really good things about Outworlds. I've heard really good things about Outworlds. I haven't checked it out just yet. I've been still busy playing Destiny, and who knows when I will get off of that train. But yeah, is it really just like Fallout? It's like that's essentially the model that they've used.
Yeah, it's a first-person RPG where you go around this kind of a dystopic colony in space, and you get to, choose how to deal with the problems as you see fit. I mean, it's definitely got the same sense of humor. This is really where capitalism has failed humanity. If you like Fallout, you will like this game.
All right. My homework. So a news came out that Star Wars is getting an official Kabuki stage adaptation.
What?
In Tokyo? Yeah, I'm sorry, Andy.
Patrons.
And so, for those of you who don't know, of course, Star Wars had incredible inspiration from Japanese stories.
Specifically Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress.
There you go. The Hidden Fortress is the one. And obviously, they're monks in robes with swords, guys. Okay? Well, it's not rocket science here. It is spaceship science, though. My homework is a fun little book series that I read and I'm going to reread before Star Wars. It is William Shakespeare's Star Wars. A writer basically wrote the Star Wars stories, episodes 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. The author's name is, where is it? Ian Dosher. Basically, it's Star Wars written out in Shakespeare's iambic pentameter. And it's amazing. So that's my homework. A couple of fun little books. If you're a Star Wars fan, if you're an original trilogy fan, you'd love it.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's it, Ariel.
All right. Andy, before we get out of here, where can people find you online?
You can find me online on Twitter at Hebrews Pale Ale. And we also have a Discord server. So hit me up for that. Information, and I'll yell at you about stuff, or you can yell at me.
Sure. Yeah. Discord seems to be a pretty big, pretty cool way to network and have a community. So hit up Andy for that.
As my favorite SpongeBob character said, I love the young people.
Andy, where can people find you to ask you for that Discord link?
On Twitter at Hebrews Pale Ale.
Or you can find me at Dread Pirate Roddy. You can find us at Geek 101 Podcast on Twitter and Facebook and Patreon and Discord. Email us geek101pod@gmail.com. That's all we have for today. Class dismissed.